Now, what's happening, my peoples? And I go by name the Sorcerer, and I'm here to talk to you and introduce you to a special Reiki practitioner. She goes by the name of HolisticallyTeri. Now, she's been in the game for many years now, and she is straight to the point, sharpshooter, straight talker, 100% real. Integrity is 100%. And I wanted to showcase to you all who she is. Now, she'll talk about Reiki from a person that has, well, it's changed her lifestyle, it's changed her way of thinking, it's helped others now that she is a Reiki practitioner. So I wanted to showcase that to you guys. What's going on, my peoples? And I go by name the Sorcerer, and I'm here in my Spirit Cartel TV. And I want to introduce you to everyone. I want to introduce this very, very amazing person. I've known her for a short amount of time, but it's about quality rather than quantity. I would like you to introduce you, Teri. And Teri is somebody who holds a dear a place within my heart spaces, because she is someone that I see as a mirror, who speaks the truth, who isn't afraid of saying what she thinks. And she is, for me, someone that shows strength. She's very punchy, but in a good way. Guys, I introduce you to HolisticallyTeri. Now, Teri, just give a introduction about yourself.
All right. So, hey, everyone. I'm Teri. At HolisticallyTeri on Instagram. That's also my website, etc. I do, well, a little bit of everything. I most love to do Reiki. Reiki is something I'm super, super passionate about. I've been a qualified Reiki level 2 practitioner for a couple of years now, and I love it. It's my calling. It just makes me so happy every time I get to do it. It's my joy. I also adore crystals. I'm a crystal healer, certified. I work in a crystal shop. I'm obsessed with crystals. I do lots of spiritual workshops. I'm also a meditation teacher and spiritual life coach, etc.
Amazing. Now, the start, I want to ask you more about what inspired you into, firstly, obviously you said crystals, and then from crystals, how did it go from crystals to going more into Reiki, and what inspired you to pursue, I'd say, isn't even your profession, it's something that you love doing. I see it's like more of a lifestyle, it's ingrained inside of you now.
It is. Do you know what? My journey started, as I suspect a lot of people starts. So I got into all of this due to ill health. I went through a really awful time with my thyroid. I was massively overactive thyroid, which causes a whole host of issues with your endocrine system, because obviously the thyroid is like the control center for that. I went through it once in 2014. We then got it back under control, and it then spiraled out of control again in 2018. And it got worse and worse and worse, to the point where the doctor said, oh, take this radioactive pill, this iodine pill, and it'll kill your thyroid, and then it'll all go away. So I trusted the doctors. I did what they told me, and very quickly realized that that's not actually how it works. And I became a lot more sick, and it didn't feel like anyone could help me. My mental health was really low, and I just went, you know what? I'm going to take control of this myself. And I started to look at, I actually think the Google search was other ways to feel better that's not medicine, because I just got to a point where I was like, I don't know what else to do. And I started to see that people used crystals for anxiety and for worry. And I thought, well, if I can feel less worried, then maybe I can have a better head on my shoulders. And then I started looking at aromatherapy and the benefits of essential oils, and got really down that rabbit hole. And as I started using these to sort of enhance my spirituality and meditation, particularly for calming the mind, I then naturally found Reiki, and just it progressed from there. And I just found this whole new way of existing that like was completely foreign to me. It's so magical. It really was. So yeah, it actually stemmed from not feeling very well, and desperation, I suppose, is probably the word to sum it up.
So like, how long have, so in terms of years, where are we now, your journey to now? How long has it been regarding from your, say, from your Reiki training to having the, let's say, the certifications of Reiki?
Absolutely. So I started dabbling in all of this, I would say 2018, when everything with the thyroid got pretty bad. That was when I started purchasing crystals, started to kind of follow along that route. When I got my Reiki level 1 in the summer of 2019. I had intended to then do Reiki level 2 in 2020, but COVID and everything shut down. It was a whole thing. And so yeah, really started dabbling in 2018, kind of taking it more seriously 2019. In 2020 though, that was when, just after I had taken the iodine pill, and it all kind of kicked off. So yeah, about just over 4 years now for real serious.
So just for the general populace to get more of an understanding, could you explain possibly the principles, the philosophies behind a Reiki practice, or for someone like yourself who's obviously administering Reiki, just so that people who might
Absolutely.
not Reiki can just get like an understanding?
Of course. So the process of Reiki is a Japanese energy healing technique that stems back thousands and thousands of years. It then made its way over to like westernized society and has kind of become its own thing over here. The person I trained with does it in a very traditional way. I would like to take this opportunity to just remind the general public that if you are watching things on TikTok, can you please check it's not for entertainment purposes only? Because this actually happened. I had someone very close to me in my real life say, "Oh, I saw a very interesting video on TikTok of someone doing some Reiki. Do you really do that?" And I sort of was, first of all, a bit offended, but then I was like, what video do you mean? So she pulled out her phone and showed me, and it was this person with all these feathers, like feathering around and like clinking their bracelets. And I was like, no, 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 that's not real Reiki. That's not how that was. And it was clearly for entertainment purposes. It was an ASMR thing, but that's not what we do. So just check that if you're watching it, it really is what you're watching.
Yes, we both know that TikTok is going to show you the complete truth, just so that people understand it. Anyone that hasn't got TikTok, it's a very sort of like short format. Sometimes it's just perceived as satire, and sometimes it's just shortcuts that doesn't even make any sense. Just
No.
understanding.
So Reiki is, for me, an embodiment of kind of like the Reiki principles. So just for today, do not anger, do not worry. And that, even that first line of those principles really resonated with me, because it's like, do not worry, the universe will have your back. Something you do as a Reiki practitioner, you should be doing, is kind of self Reiki every day. That self Reiki, wake up, get yourself in the right headspace, ground yourself, bring in the Reiki energies, get ready for the day. And truly living in that mindset has changed my life, because it teaches you to become so present and mindful of just the simplest things. And there is so much beauty in mindfulness and just stepping back and realizing it does not mean perfection, because no one is perfect. I can say the Reiki precepts and just for today, do not anger, do not worry, be humble, blah, blah, blah. But like, I'm going to anger, and there are times where you're going to worry, but it's about having that kind of support of the Reiki system to step back and be like, no, hold on a minute, because the universe has me. I am safe. I'm trusted in this process. Like, it's going to be okay. And that, like, yeah, so that's a very nutshell of what Reiki is. But yeah, it's an energy transference.
No, that's amazing, because the next question I was going to ask is, because you kind of just scratched the surface, which was good, because it was going to lead to the next question. But how does it incorporate within your general life, your daily life? Have you seen, even when during self-reflection, even when you're mentioning grounding, how has it transformed your life from looking back from when you first started, or even before you didn't even start Reiki, to now? How has the transformation been for yourself?
Just like a completely different person. I think you just start to see things with very new eyes. And a lot of that will come through. So, I mean, I believe a lot of it comes through the attunement. So when you do your Reiki training, you're attuned to different levels of the energy, which is why as a level 2 practitioner, you can then pass that energy through to other people. Whereas a level 1, it's just for yourself. But I just think you see the world completely differently. You become for me, I became much more grounded, much more peaceful, much more, I don't like to use this word because it has a whole thing with women attached to it, but much more rational, if you will. I know that women are typically painted as like over emotional, overwhelmed, emotional outbursts, etc. And I was that person. That is how my anxiety manifests. I will get incredibly vocal and anxious and like run around like a chicken with my head cut off. But I was living like that every single day, multiple times a day, my cortisol, my adrenaline. And that's the other thing. I'm a bit of a science geek. So I've delved into a lot of what actually happens in your body stress responses. And the biggest thing for me that like Reiki, meditation, crystals has brought me is that balance of actually my body does not exist in fight or flight anymore, because that's not healthy. And my body now knows what that feels like. And I have the tools to dial myself back in and go, okay, ooh, the heart rate's up. We're feeling that right now. Let's be present for a moment. And it gives me that space. And so like when you've asked, how do you use it? I use it every day, multiple times a day. It's not like I sit there and talk it out loud. Like if I'm getting stressed out in a queue, I'm not going to be like, okay, Reiki this, I do it in my head, but multiple times a day.
So it sounds more attuned to your lifestyle. It sounds like you've deep dived into the rabbit hole, which everyone starts with doing, regarding if it's Reiki, just with anything that they have a keen interest in. And it seems like you fully immersed yourself within the changes, and now it's just a part of you.
Absolutely.
And I see it being a part of you just going forwards. I see you using it with possibly your everyday life, as well as even aiding your friends, but also perhaps towards even the twilight of your years. Wouldn't you agree?
I love it. It's just something that I just think everyone could do with a dose of it, because it does make your life feel so much more peaceful. Because that was, for me, I didn't realize that the piece was missing, because you do get caught in these cycles of stress addiction. So many people do. And I was existing in that. You don't even realize what it feels like until you get off the hamster wheel, so to speak. And you go, whoa, it can feel different. And then it felt like an addiction, because I was chasing that. I want to feel peaceful all the time. Now that I know what peace feels like, I don't want that stress anymore, which is what led me to packing in the teaching job full time, because actually that was causing me to exist in a state that didn't resonate with who I was anymore. I didn't feel authentic being caught up in this lifestyle constantly. And that's no shade to my previous school, no shade to my previous employer. They were wonderful people and I adore them. The system was too broken, and self-preservation. I'm going a different direction. I need to make sure that I feel good about what I'm doing.
Yeah, because it sounds like a juxtaposition where what you'll see one element of being on a more of a high vibrational vibe, and you'll see more of a lower vibration. I think I'm guessing that you're doing all your clearing as well as your grounding, as well as you're just internalizing things. You're like, hold on a minute, I'm ascending here during my own frequency. I'm looking, and this ain't where I am. This is where I'm not meant to be.
Yeah.
And through that realization, it's sort of brought a new version of you. Or wouldn't you agree?
Oh, 100%. It's really interesting. I just did a mind, body, spirit event back in the same town where I used to teach, village rather, sorry. And I just love the community there so much. I love the people there. And everyone who saw me, whose children I used to teach or who used to work in the school, were like, do you ever look happy? Oh my goodness, you look so good and so happy. And I was like, yeah, because I am. I'm doing what feels right to me now. And that was the biggest compliment you could have given me. You know, like it just felt so nice for that to be recognized, of like, yeah, actually I am happy. That's what matters.
You know, I always say it's always the clues are from the reactions of the people that you're surrounded that you haven't seen in a while. So if that glow, Therefore, you're in the right path. Now,
Yeah.
could you tell me what type of clients or conditions do you typically work using your Reiki regarding your clients? Is it more physical? Is it more spiritual? Is it more mental? Is it a bit of both? Is it a bit of everything? I mean,
It's a bit of both. I would say most people start out with, I just need a bit of me time. I need to relax. I need to turn my brain off. I do have some clients who come to me with physical stuff going on, as well as the mental side of it, like needing to relax and switch off. But I have had clients who have physical difficulties like chronic fatigue, ME, etc. Again, I'm not stating I cure these things, just to be really clear. But that has alleviated, the Reiki has, their words, alleviated the pain. One of my clients will always say, I just love it because I'm floating. That whole hour, I just feel weightless. I'm floating. The pain is gone. Any worries are gone. I just feel so good.
that's amazing. And
Yeah.
could you share any memorable experiences from your time as obviously as a person that does the Reiki? Any sort of like success stories you can say or you can share?
Well, I feel like every client is a success story. I adore my clients, and I hope they would know that. They must see me as soon as we share things. One thing I'm really big on is saying, look, I'm going to share first, so you know I'm not just piggybacking off what you say, because I think until people start to get comfortable with it, they don't really realize what happened. So generally what I do is I'll pass messages on. So when I do the Reiki, spirit will come to me in different ways because I am spiritually tuned. I don't pretend to be psychic. I'm not psychic. I don't see anyone else's dead people. I just hear mine from time to time. And that's how it rolls. But sometimes I will see like images or things that I think, okay, I need to tell you that, but I don't know what it means. I'm not going to sit here and try to unpick it. That's up for you. But I did have a client recently who was a first time client. She'd seen me at an MBS fair, had a 10-minute treatment, must have booked the treatment walking out the door because she then came for a full treatment not even a week later. And I did it and did her Reiki. She was just lying there taking her time. And I said, I don't know if this means anything to you, but at your third eye, this lion appeared, this male lion, so powerful. I said, so protective, like really has your back. Don't know if he's part of your spirit team, but I just wanted you to know that. And she was like, are you serious? And I was like, yes. And she said, so I'm a Leo, but I've never told anyone this before. But what I do sometimes is, and she said, because all of my friends will think I'm crazy if I say this, but I'll sometimes imagine a lion when I'm getting really stressed or really worried, like I need someone to protect me. She said, but I've never told anyone that. And I was like, look, I'm just telling you what I saw. Like, how would I have known that? And she was amazed that, and it's like, no, the connection is there. The energy is flowing. That's what I see. Like, I'm not really amazed by it anymore. Not amazed, but I'm like, yeah, I don't question it because I know that's what I've seen. Anything I repeat, I'm being genuine about. But it's really cool to see people's reactions to that and go, oh my gosh, you sensed that? Yeah, I did.
And I can definitely add to that because I've had a session with you, Teri, and I just wanted to express to the general populace that uh, Teri is not just an amazing person regarding a session with Reiki, because we did, just to give more clarity, distance Reiki, but it's also the picture that she gave me when she was channeling in. She was Teri. You gave me parts of myself in different chakras where I still resonate as I'm going. I haven't. I probably need to have a conversation with you on a separate scale. But just to add to that, yes, I feel it and I resonate, and what you visioned, you're definitely attuned to source. That's something that I want to add on to the audience. And how I envision it is that even if you wasn't going to do Reiki, just saying, you definitely was that you definitely attuned in terms of in terms of a channeled message. So I just wanted to add on to that. But
Thank
yes,
you. Appreciate that.
what do you believe makes an effective Reiki practitioner?
Okay, this is going to be controversial. Are we okay with
But
controversial?
controversy, please.
I knew you were going to say that. Okay, so for me personally, and obviously however you've done it is however you've done it, and I cannot speak to someone else's experience with source. My personal belief is that a Reiki practitioner should be trained in person by a Reiki master, because I understand that there are online places that offer this. I am not saying that that's not a genuine experience, but what I am saying is that you don't actually know. You know, I know my Reiki master is a certified Reiki master. I have been in her presence. She's done treatments on me before I even went for the Reiki training with her. I know her as a person. Her energy matched mine. She watched me. I mean, one of my assignments or my final, before she would give me my certificate, I had to bring a test person to do a full Reiki treatment in front of her for her to make sure I was doing it right. Now, you don't get that kind of hands-on learning in an online setting. And because Reiki is an in-person, you know, you can, yes, do it distance, which is what we did, but I don't believe that distance is as effective if you aren't doing it properly in person first. And you need to be able to know that you're doing it properly. And if you don't have an in-person person there, how do you know? So my belief is that you should have in-person training, particularly if you're going to be a Reiki master, which is someone who can teach others to do Reiki. I also believe that Reiki practitioners should be leaving periods of time in between each Reiki sort of degree, if you like. They're called degrees. Reiki level 1, you should let sit for probably a minimum of 6 months, because you have to embody the practice. If you haven't sat there and done yourself Reiki and done your own healing journey, how on earth are you supposed to then progress into being able to pass that energy to others? I mean, mine was a bit of a long wait because of COVID. So, you know, you don't have to wait that long, but there is supposed to be a rest period. And any good Reiki master is going to say, sorry, you've only done your level 1 a month ago. You need to let that sit, because you go through the spiritual awakening, you go through that journey. And if you haven't been through it, how can you then pass that on to others? So I also firmly believe in a wait period. I think a Reiki practitioner should be understanding, and they should be very patient and able to listen to their clients. But you should also, as a Reiki practitioner, have boundaries. You are not someone's therapist. You should know when your own strengths, and you should know to be able to say, actually, I'm going to stop you there because that's not what's happening right now. And I find myself even having to do that, because once you've done a session for someone, you know, we are in an environment as spiritual workers where there's a lot of vulnerability, and you have to be sure that you are maintaining your spiritual maintenance to be able to help other people. You need to be in the right head frame. And if someone asks you for something that you cannot provide, you have to be honest and have boundaries and say, do you know what? That is not my strength. Let me direct you to someone who is. Stop trying to do it all.
Now,
So that's just
like,
a little.
no, yeah, sorry. What I was gonna say, just to add on to that, it just sounds like you can have all the theory in the world, but when it comes to I call it the meat and bones. One has to be with someone physically.
Yep.
Can someone use a teddy bear to do
I have heard stories of people using teddy bears to practice on. Now, you can use, I should say, a sort of, if you choose to, a stuffed animal as a surrogate when you're doing a distance session. So you would, like I set the crystals out. If you don't use crystals, you might then use a stuffy or something to do the chakras if you're sending it to someone else. That I can understand, because the person's not on the bed and you need somewhere to focus the energy. But we can't train, in my opinion, you can't train on inanimate objects. But you know, if people do, and that's their choice. And I believe that karma will come around and people will learn what they have or haven't done. And what worries me, though, is that people who see people who haven't had the right training or have rushed the training, because that's also a thing. All these online courses, you can do 1, 2 and master right all together. Well, that's not enough time for anything to settle. So the energy might not be right. They might not have a good experience, and they might walk away from that thinking, oh, Reiki doesn't feel like anything because I didn't feel anything.
I think there needs to be an essence of, because I'm all for people to be proactive and learning new skills, but there needs to be, and this isn't just about Reiki. This is just with any type of regarding our field, is there some type of regulation? Because
Absolutely.
there has to be a standard that needs to be met, and you can't just have that standard met with certificates. There has to be a period where somebody has seen, like, what's it with teaching people? It's like, is it called Ofsted?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you go,
Ofsted have
so
to
you
come
go,
into schools.
yeah,
Yeah.
see what you guys are doing. So the
Yeah.
reason why I used Ofsted is because obviously you've had the experience of being a teacher, and I was just using that analogy or as a comparison to something of our field that needs to have a regulation. Would you
Yeah.
what do you think about that? Do you agree with?
I agree. I think particularly for certain things, and then it becomes muddy waters, and I get why it's not regulated, because how do you challenge someone's experience with source? How do you prove that that's not what they're experiencing? You can't. But when it comes to hands-on treatments, in the same way with like massage therapy, you have to get a specific, like, you have to have specific training. You're touching someone's body and moving their muscles. Okay, well, with Reiki, I'm touching your energy. Someone should, like, there should be a regulation that says this is the type of training you need to be able to do that, because you're holding people in a really vulnerable state. And I believe that that should be regulated. I think things like crystals, again, gets tricky when it comes to crystal healing. I don't know how you would regulate that, because then it's like this massive conundrum, but there should be something more. I mean, even when I applied for my insurance, because I have insurance, just to be clear, that's the other thing you should be checking. If you're going to see any sort of worker, what is your insurance? Does it have public liability? You should also be having to sign some sort of, like, not a waiver, because it's not like death is a possibility, but some sort of, like, when people book a Reiki session with me online through my website, there's a series of questions, and I will ask you about your medications, and I'm going to ask you if there's a chance you're pregnant, and I'm going to ask you some history about your medical stuff, because there are certain ailments or certain things that we can't do Reiki if that is something going on with you. You have to be upfront about that. That's because my insurance says so. And again, anyone who's practicing properly will be checking those things. But yeah, like, even with insurance, when I applied online, it literally just had a tick box that said, do you have the relevant training to cover what you're applying for? Yes. I didn't have to show anybody. Nobody checked. The insurance company didn't come back to me and go, oh, prove this. That was that. And I pay them my monthly fee.
In terms of, like, you mentioned conditions, is there any conditions you speak to the client and be like, oh, based on your condition,
Mm-hmm.
I just need to give you more of a heads up where you need to sign, like, obviously you're saying sign a waiver, but where you've had to have a discussion regarding their condition, you had to be
Mm-hmm.
double, triple, even quadruple check regarding practicing the Reiki towards the person.
Yes, there's been a few things. So with pregnancy, you've got to see at what point they are in their pregnancy. You also need to check epilepsy. I've never had someone who's epileptic, but that is a no-no, because again, if you're shifting energy and something happens, anyone who's diabetic, you need to be careful, because again, that relaxation and that energy rush could actually affect blood sugar levels. So you have to check that they're okay with that. So it's things like that that people don't think about, but Reiki can have very much a physical effect as much as it has a spiritual one. So, that weightless feeling, that lightheaded, I often get people saying they feel lightheaded. So even things like, are you prone to fainting? If
Mm.
you are, you're going to lie down for extra. I always have water. If I need a sugary something, I tend to have chocolate in the cupboard anyway, but I will make sure we've got you what you need, and you're not walking out that door until you feel grounded. I often, if I'm at home, will sometimes, if it's an in-person client, call my dog in to help ground them at the end of a session. So my dog will run in and they'll give him strokes and kind of bring them back down to earth a little bit, because you're not driving your car until I'm convinced you're okay.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. The next question I was going to ask: are there any ongoing developments or trends in the field of Reiki that you particularly are interested, or do you feel there should be more of a exploring part of that?
Um, I think just its popularity. I think it's really cool that there are some NHS trusts that are now recommending Reiki or providing Reiki vouchers in some parts of the country. Not my part of the country, but a friend of mine, kind of like a relative, but not. Someone unfortunately was diagnosed with cancer. And through their treatment, they got given from their NHS trust like a big bundle of bits. And in that were 5 vouchers for a Reiki treatment in order to relax and that's from the NHS. There are NHS trusts that are exploring it with patients from all different things. Hospices, I believe, also explore Reiki, as do some care homes. And I think that if all NHS trusts could make that switch to like understanding, like, I'm not here trying to replace your medicine. I believe that 21st century medicine does have a place, particularly for people who are really ill. Like, of course it does. But there are holistic practices that can go alongside that can help alleviate other symptoms like stress, like worry, like anxiety, promote relaxation, that I wish that more trusts would delve into, because it could be really beneficial for patients. And having the backing of NHS trust for something like Reiki is huge.
Absolutely. I think any type of help is great help. And I always say that when it comes to like Reiki, I'm a bit surprised it hasn't been more incorporated into the healthcare system.
Yeah.
But I just hope that it will do. I mean, from what you're telling me, the signs are. So that's something, I'm let's say we're manifesting.
Yeah.
How do you address the skepticism, the misconceptions, of the naysayers about Reiki, and what was your experience regarding that? Have you got also a personal experience regarding somebody even challenging that about Reiki?
I wouldn't say I've had anyone challenge it per se. No one's ever been like aggressively in my face about it. You do get people who are like, I don't get it. And it's like, all right, well, that's okay. Like, it's not here for everyone to get. In the same way, I don't get certain things. Like, I don't expect everyone to understand or be interested in it. I believe that the right people will find it. But the best thing I can say is to give it a go, because the other word all of my clients say is it's indescribable. The feeling is not something that is really you're able to express with words that we have, like weightless and lightheaded, but it's not a bad lightheaded. And people just can't express how it actually feels. You have to try it in order to understand the benefits of it. And not everyone's willing to give that a go. If it's someone who's closed-minded or someone who's not sort of interested in spirituality, well, then they're not likely to be interested in it anyway. And that's okay, because it's different strokes for different folks. And I don't pretend to be for everybody, but I'll be for the right people. And that's what matters.
Absolutely. And next question I'm going to ask you is, what advice would you give to someone considering learning Reiki or incorporating it into their wellness routine in their lives, part of their grounding, part of their everyday sort of like day-to-day basis? Yeah, what advice would you give them?
Well, actually, funny, I did give this advice recently. Someone I know personally from another walk of life reached out and said they have been drawn to the holistic root of things. They were really interested in Reiki. They knew I was doing it. Could they come and have a session? And I said, yeah, of course you can. So they booked in, they came to see me. It was wonderful. And then they said, look, I already do massage, but I'd be really interested in incorporating Reiki into my business. Is that okay? And I was like, what you asking me permission for? Don't be silly. Of course it is. This is the name of my Reiki master. This is where she does her training. There is room for everybody here. I am absolutely not about that life that like, no, you can't do that because I'm doing that. Like, how ridiculous. So first of all, talk to people about Reiki. Have experiences with different Reiki practitioners. If you're looking into getting into it, please try, like, go to different people. I think I saw 4 or 5 different practitioners before I did my training. Please go see other people. The next thing you need to do is do your Reiki level 1 and let that sit. How you choose to do it is up to you. I believe the best way is in person. But Reiki level 1, I think, is something everybody should have, because it gives you that basis of the grounding, of doing the self Reiki, the cleansing. It's perfect. It's so lovely. And if that's where your journey stops, that's where it stops. If you want to go on to share that with people, again, definitely do level 2 in person, get yourself attuned. And the best way to build it up is through clients and experiences, because when people experience good Reiki, they want more. All of my client base is built up through word of mouth, is people hearing from someone else it was really good, thinking, all right, I'll take a punt on it, and then going, whoa, that was really good, and returning and returning. I have a great client return rate. In fact, I think all of my clients are now returning clients. There hasn't been anyone who's ever had it once and gone, oh, not for me. But that would be okay, because at least you gave it a try.
Exactly. And my last question is sort of kind of incorporating social media. And have you seen a rise, or has social media such as your apps such as TikTok, Instagram, maybe even Facebook, I'm not too sure, YouTube, has it helped Reiki in terms of like yourself as a practitioner? Has it helped regarding getting clients, or has there many difficulties regarding the information that you see on social media? Has there been a big, in terms of what you see through your own lenses, has the majority of it been good, or have you also had any experience of seeing a horror show?
I'm going to go with 50-50 on that one. I think honestly, I'm right down the middle. A horror show, maybe not, but I feel like for my own personal business, social media has been amazing. It's allowed me to connect with like-minded individuals. You know, without my Instagram page and the friends I've made there, I may never have had the courage to even start my own business and to go with it, because I live in a very rural area. There's, until you know to find these people, it's really hard to find people who are into what you're into. So for that side of social media, I will always be eternally grateful. I mean, that's how we connected. I thank my lucky stars every day. I've got to know people like you. You're amazing. Like Emma at Evoke Alchemy, she's incredible. Like, I wouldn't have these amazing friends and support if I didn't have social media. The other side of that is the ugly side of social media, where I see a lot of misinformation. And the problem with spirituality, I think, in terms of practitioners, because it's unregulated, is it lets everybody think anybody can start a business doing that. And unfortunately, you see people taking advantage of other people, whether that be price gouging, or people who maybe have whizzed through the training and are kind of doing it to make a quick buck, or things like that really grind my gears, because I always believe in doing it what I perceive as the right way. And then you get like the videos on TikTok and things like that, they're for entertainment purposes. That's not what Reiki really looks like. But when it's seen by masses of people, that's what people think Reiki is. And it's like, that's not what it is. So there is a lot of misinformation. I don't believe that any of the misinformation is ever intentional, because I do believe people on the whole try and be good. I think that it's until you know better, you don't do better. So people have to get to know to do better. And hopefully, slowly, I will be able to share what I know, and hopefully people can maybe just do the right things. That's really, yeah. So I do think it's a bit of 50-50, really. Yeah.
Amazing. Now, just for the general populace, how can they find you on social media? What platforms are you using? And are you easy and accessible if somebody wanted to book a session with you?
Very easy. It's super easy. So my Instagram is at HolisticallyTeri. My website is HolisticallyTeri.co.uk. If you go to that and click on bookings, you can then find whatever session you want to book. There's Reiki, spiritual life coaching, distance Reiki if you're far away, all that jazz. Click on the session you want to book. It'll take you to a calendar. You can book in time that suits you. If there aren't any dates, check back a little bit later, because I wait for my schedule from the crystal shop job to be able to update stuff. If you can't find a date and you're interested, DM me on Instagram. I'm really good at responding. I also do have TikTok. I need to get better at it, but that is also HolisticallyTeri. So dead easy to find me.
Well, Teri, I just want to say it's been an absolute pleasure And I just wanted to say thank you for your time, because I know you're a busy woman, and it's an absolute privilege that for you to just take your time away from whatever you're doing for me to give you an interview. Guys, I'm going to put this on my YouTube channel, which is Spirit Cartel, and you are now about to watch Holistically Teri. Guys, you take care, and thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. I've loved it. Thank you. And yeah, you're the best.
See, this is the most beautiful thing about interviewing. You get to know somebody, even when you feel like you know them. The truth and the reality is, you get to know a story that they've finally have the time to reach and tell the world, the universe. And that's what I got from Teri. Teri is an amazing soul. She's definitely in tune to source. And even if she wasn't doing Reiki, in terms of the general practices, in terms of, let's say, oracle cards, channeled messages, tarot, or any type of readings of energy, she's definitely attuned to it, and she definitely has a gift. And I just wanted to let her know that she's an amazing person, and I'm happy to showcase her light. Now, I go by the name The Sorcerer, and that was Holistically Teri.